Hello everyone. In this session, let me continue few more theorems in the fourth unit. So as I already told you, in the fourth unit, you cannot neglect fourth unit. Why? Because almost all the familiar theorems will be from the fourth unit only. So you have to go through this. Anyhow, here is the statement. So if f and g are non-negative measurable functions defined on a set He, then we have to prove all these three statements are equivalent. Moreover, whenever the minute you see the statements, it is familiar that we have already done. No, it is not. So before going to the statement, you have to make sure that whether f and g are which kind of functions or which kind of measurable sets they are. So here in the statement, it is clearly given f and g are non-negative measurable function. So the minute when I said it is non-negative measurable function, you have to understand the concept of non-negative measurable function. As I already done this concept in the previous session, so let me revise the definition. Suppose if f is any given function, we can say it is a non-negative measurable function only when for any value, that is for any other function h less than or equal to f, it satisfies the condition Lebesgue integral over E with respect to f is equal to supremum of all h less than or equal to f integral over h. So this is what the definition of non-negative measurable function is. Let me repeat once again. If f is non-negative measurable, f is said to be non-negative measurable function only when for any function h less than or equal to f, Lebesgue integral over E of this function will be equal to supremum of all the values of a function h. So this is what the definition of a non-negative measurable function is. Now coming to the proof, first let me prove the first statement. Proof. First one. So as usual, it is given that c is greater than 0, in the sense it is one of the constant value. So if c is greater than 0, if you multiply any function with the constant c, again that will be greater than 0. Why? Because a function is always a positive quantity. Right? And now let us consider any bounded measurable function, say h, as per the definition of non-negative measurable function. For if you are going to consider any bounded measurable function h, and I'm sorry I forgot to tell you, in case of non-negative measurable function, the function that we are going to assume with reference to h will be a non-negative, will be a bounded measurable function. Remember, we are going to consider a function h in such a way that h will be bounded measurable function. So here I am going to consider a bounded measurable function h in such a way that h will be less than or equal to f. So if this satisfies the condition, then if you are going to multiply any constant c to this expression, then we will get c into h is less than or equal to c into f. What I have done is I have assumed the function h, that is bounded measurable function, which satisfies this condition. If you are going to multiply c on both sides, it doesn't alter. So I can write like this. Now let us consider the LHS part of the first equation, that is integral over E c into f. Now as per the definition, I'll just write definition here. Definition of non-negative measurable function says that if h is less than or equal to f, then integral over E f will be expressed as supremum of all the functions h. This is the definition of non-negative measurable function is. Now in place of f, what we have? Cf. Right? So I'm going to replace f by cf. So whenever you have f here, I can write this as supremum of c into h. Right? C into h is less than or equal to y, because f is multiplied with c. So h should be multiplied with c also. So c into f integral over E c into h. Right? So if f is equal to this, if you are going to multiply c for this, you will get cf is equal to supremum of, you have to multiply here also. cs less than or equal to cf integral over E c multiplied on both sides. That is what we have. So I have applied the concept. Now as per the property of integration, I can take constant outside, so that I can write this as supremum of cs less than or equal to cf c into integral over E h. Now suppose if I have AB, I can write that as BA. So I can write C here and supremum afterwards. So I will get this integral over E h. Now LHS is integral over E CF, right? Now you can look that here, if CH is less than or equal to F, CF, here if CH is less than or equal to CF, it is equivalent that H is less than or equal to F, right? So I can replace this as supremum of H less than or equal to F integral over E h. Why? Because I have already assumed if h is less than or equal to f, then I can write ch is less than or equal to cf. So in both the way it is true. If this is true, I can write this. If this is true, I can write this. So I can write like this. Now integral over E cf. Now you can look at the statement here. So from the definition of non-negative measurable function, this is what I have. So if you have something like this, I can write this. So I can replace this as integral over E f. See, as it is, so this value will be integral over e f. So this is what we require to prove is. Right? So hence the proof of first one. Now, whatever the notes I'll send, if you see the video, you can write it properly. So in the notes, it will be in the statement format. You just write it in step-by-step manner. Hope so you understand. Now coming to the second one. Second one is also based on the non-negative measurable function. So let me do it. So here I have sum of two functions. In the first case, I have only one function. So I have assumed only one condition which satisfying a definition of non-negative measurable function. Now in the second one I have sum of two functions. So let me do here. So second one. So let us consider two functions, say h with reference to f. As per the definition of non-negative measurable function, we need this, right? That is what the non-negative measurable function is. Definition of non-negative measurable function is. So since we have f and g, let me take the function h, bounded measurable function. Remember, as per the definition, it should be bounded measurable function. So let h be the function with reference to f. For g, let us take this as k. K be a function with reference to g. Obviously, k should also bounded measurable function as per the definition of non-negative measurable function. So I'm repeating once again, whenever I say a function f is non-negative measurable, when only if there exists a bounded measurable function h such that which is less than or equal to f, we can write supremum of all the values of h. That will call as f is called as a non-negative measurable function. So I have two functions f and g here in the second statement. So I have assumed the h with reference to f. I have assumed k with reference to g. Fine. Now, since h is less than or equal to f and k is less than or equal to g, so I can write this expression as h plus k will be less than or equal to f plus g. Just I have added the inequality on LHS and RHS, so I can write like this. Hope so it is clear. Now, let us consider LHS part, or let me prove it by converse. So let me consider the individual sum. Instead of taking f and g, let us consider integral over h plus integral over k over the measurable set e. Right? Now, since h and k are bounded functions, right? Bounded measurable function. Now we have already proved this theorem, this concept, this inequality in bounded measurable function. If you want, you can go through that. So I can write this as integral over e h plus k. In the sense, whenever you have two bounded measurable function f and g, I can write integral over f plus integral over g as integral over f plus g. I have proved this inequality for bounded measurable function. Since I have assumed h and k as bounded measurable function, so I can write like this. Fine. Now, as I said, h plus k is less than or equal to f plus g. So I can write that this value will be less than or equal to integral over e f plus g. Fine. Since I have assumed this condition, as we already told, h plus k is less than or equal to f plus g. If you integrate this, you will get the same value. Fine. Now, let me take supremum over this function. So I can write this as supremum h less than or equal to f over h plus supremum. I'm going to take supremum of LHS value, so that I can write this as, I'll just write this less than or equal to integral over e f plus g. What I have done is I have written this statement just by replacing this value with this. Now I have taken supremum on LHS values. Now this is from the definition of, see here, from the definition of bounded measurable function. Non-negative measurable function says that if this condition satisfy, I can write this as f. Right? Similarly, k is with reference to g. So it satisfies the definition of non-negative measurable function. So I can write this as g. Why? Because k is less than or equal to g. Clear? So here k is less than or equal to g I can write. Why? Because I have chosen in such a way that functions are bounded measurable. So which is less than or equal to integral over e f plus g. Now let me take this as equation 1. Still it is not proved. Why? Because you can look at the statement. We have equal sign in between, but where we have less than or equal to. So reverse inequality also we have to prove in order to prove the statement. So hope so equation 1 is clear for you. Right? Now let us consider one bounded measurable function to prove the reverse inequality. Let us consider one bounded measurable function and let it be pi, bounded measurable function, in such a way that this function pi will be less than or equal to f plus g. Fine. Now clearly let us take two functions h1 and h2 in such a way that h1 is less than or equal to f So this h1 of x will be of the form that is minimum of all the f of x and pi of x. In the sense, I have chosen a function h1 in such a way that it consists of minimum values of a function f and whatever the function I have assumed pi. And h2 of x will be consisting of pi of x minus h1 of x. Remaining whatever the values is there, let me take that as h2. Then there exist two cases. Suppose if h1 of x is equal to f of x, then h2 of x will be pi of x minus f of x, right? Why? Because h1 of x is replaced with f of x. If h1 of x is equal to f of x, I can replace h1 of x with f of x. So when I replace, h2 will become pi of x minus f of x. So clearly it will be less than or equal to g of x, right? So I have subtract pi consisting of all the elements sum of f and g, right? So if you subtract it from f, it will be less than g. G will be greater function then, right? So I can write this inequality. So from this it is clear that h2 will be less than or equal to g. Similarly, suppose if h1 of x will be equal to pi of x. See here, h1 consists only two cases. Either it should be equal to f of x or it should be equal to pi of x. If h1 of x is equal to f of x, then h2 will become pi of x minus f of x. As pi contains sum of f and g, obviously it will be less than g value. Fine. Let me take h1 as second value. That is, second possibility is pi of x. Then h2 will become 0. Right? Pi of x minus h1 of x is pi of x. So pi of x minus pi of x will be equal to 0. Again it is less than or equal to g of x. In the sense, in both the cases, h2 will be less than or equal to g of x. Right? Let me write g of x here. Now let us consider integral over the function pi. So what I have assumed pi as, I can write pi as sum of h1 plus h2. Clear? Why? Because pi is considered as sum of the functions f and g. Moreover, if you are going to consider h1 as f and h1 as pi, in both the cases h2 will be less than g of x. So I can write pi as, instead of f plus g, I can write it as sum of h1 plus h2. Right? If this was the case, I can write the term as, let me continue here. So I can write this statement as, see here, I'll just write here, integral over e pi will be equal to, so I can, since h1 and h2 are bounded measurable functions, so I can split. So let me write here only plus integral over e h2. I have splitted sum into individual integral. Now let me take a supremum on both sides, so I can apply supremum here itself. So supremum taken over pi less than or equal to f plus g. Why? Because I have assumed the function pi as less than or equal to f plus g. It can be written as supremum of pi less than or equal to f plus g integral over e h1 plus integral over e of h2. Fine. Now since supremum is taken over pi of f plus g, so I can write this statement as integral over e f plus g. Right? That is what the meaning of bounded measurable function is. Right? Why? Because see, this is what the, definition of non-negative measurable function is. See here, whenever I have h less than or equal to f, I can write this as whatever the function I have, I can write here. Right? So similarly, what I have here, see here, supremum of pi less than or equal to f plus g I have. So in place of f, I have f plus g, so I can write integral over e f plus g. So as per the definition of non-negative measurable function. Fine. So whenever you have this, so whatever the function you have, you should write here. So that is what I have done. Fine. Now let me write this as, I'm going to split, since when you are going to split the supremum for both the integral, equals will become less than or equal to. So let me split it. So you will get supremum over h1 less than or equal to f. Why? Because pi is sum of f and g, and moreover pi can be expressed as sum of h1 plus h2. So I can split over h1 and h2 as this, plus supremum of h2 is less than or equal to g integral over e h2. Clear? Now again from the definition, what can I write? This as integral over e of f, plus similarly this is integral over e g. Just look at the definition, whatever the term you have, you can write here. So similarly I have g here, so I have written this integral over e f plus g, which is less than or equal to integral over e f plus g. Fine. Let me take this as equation 2. Now you can clearly note that, look at the equations 1 and 2, we have proved the reverse inequality, right? So I can write this as integral over E f plus integral over E g is greater than or equal to integral over E f plus g. Now let me take this as equation 3 if you want. Now compare equations 1 and 2. So from 1 and 2 I can clearly write, we can clearly write from 1 and 3 that integral over E f plus integral over E g is equal to integral over E f plus g. So both the inequality you need to prove. So this is what the second statement is. Hope so both are clear. Now let me prove the third one. Third one is quite simple. So first let us write the condition given. What is the given condition? I'll just write third one here. So given f is less than or equal to g, AE stands for almost everywhere. Then we need to prove integral over E f is less than or equal to integral over E of g. Now since f is less than or equal to g almost everywhere, then meaning of this statement is I can write g minus f is greater than or equal to 0. Right, I'll just give you simple example. Suppose if I can write 5 is less than or equal to 6, I can write that 6 minus 5 will be greater than or equal to 0, right? It is obviously positive. See here, 6 minus 5 is 1, obviously greater than or equal to 0. Not only for this condition, if you want, you can choose any of the values, you will get the same condition. So same thing will be applicable for function as well. If f is less than or equal to g, I can write g minus f is greater than or equal to 0 almost everywhere. Fine. Then let us consider integral over E of g. Now what I'm going to write this g as, I can manipulate this as, I'll just subtract f and add f. So that minus f plus f get cancelled, you'll get back the same term. Fine. I have considered this. Let me consider integral over E, that is Lebesgue integral of g. Then I can write the same as minus f plus f. Right. Now I can write, I'll just group this and I'll just split it. Fine. Now, since g minus f is greater than or equal to 0, I can write this integral is also greater than or equal to 0. As g minus f greater than 0, this value is also greater than or equal to 0. Anyhow, we are not interested in this value. So, this value is obviously greater than or equal to 0. Right? Now, how can we write this as integral over E g is greater than or equal to integral over E f. I have splitted the integral and I have shifted this, right? So it is equivalent of writing integral over E f is less than or equal to integral over E g. That's all. That is what we need to prove is. Fine. Just the logic. Wherever I have proved this concept, whether it is bounded measurable function or whether it is non-negative measurable function, the concept will be same. So you have to remember the definition. As per the definition, we are going to make a replacement. Fine. So this is what the theorem proof is. Hope so it is clear. Now let me explain one more important theorem. It is repeated n number of times, called Feta's lemma or Feta's lemma we can say. And not only this theorem, almost all the theorems or standard forms of theorems are in 4th unit only, and it is very important as per the exam point of view. So you have to memorize the statement also. Fine. So statement, they'll just ask state and prove Feta's lemma or Feta's lemma. So you have to write the statement. Let Fn be a sequence of non-negative measurable function. Here also the concept of non-negative measurable function will be applicable. Such that if Fn is converging to f almost everywhere, AE stands for almost everywhere on E, then we have to prove integral over E f is less than or equal to limit infimum. You have to remember this concept. Hope so I have done this, you have learned it. So limit infimum it is. When you have a upper bar, when you put bar above limit, you will say that as supremum. Since I have limit infimum of n tending to infinity, Lebesgue integral over E fn. So this is the statement. Now coming to the proof of the Feta's lemma. To prove this, first let us write the given conditions here. Given that, let me write here proof. Given that Fn is sequence of non-negative measurable function, right? And you have to write all those things, whatever the definitions is there. Wording format I'm not going to write. Anyhow, I'll send you in the notes. So you just copy it. And this theorem is important, as I said. It is asked in 2016 as well as 2018. So please go through this. So if Fn is sequence of measurable function and given Fn is sequence of measurable function and Fn is converging to f. Convergence meaning is that as limit n tending to infinity, Fn is equal to f. This is the meaning of convergence. That is, definition of convergence says that if whenever you have limit n tending to infinity, fn can be written as f. This is the meaning of convergence of a sequence. Next, what else is required is given that it is a sequence of non-negative measurable function. Then we have to assume one bounded measurable function, say h, such that h less than or equal to f, and moreover it satisfies the definition of bounded measurable function. What it says, that is integral over e, f is equal to supremum of h less than or equal to f integral over h. This is the meaning of non-negative measurable function. I have considered the definition. Now let us take for each n belongs to n, let me assume hn of x. This is the particular form, so I am generalizing the concept. So if you are going to take all the bounded measurable function, it will be the minimum of h of x and fn of x. So let us assume hn of x is this. Now for each n, hn is measurable and moreover it is vanishing over f as per the definition of non-negative measurable function. Fine. And also it is given that in the definition of non-negative measurable function, I have already sent the notes also, you just go through that, h should be bounded measurable function there. So when I said h is bounded measurable, since h is bounded measurable function, so as per the bounded concept I can write, when you are going to take magnitude of hn of x, modulus of hn of x, that should be bounded within h of x. Right? Why? Because hn of x is chosen as minimum of h of x and fn of x. Right? So this implies hn is bounded. Hn is bounded. Further, let me take limit over n tending to infinity hn of x. I am going to take a limit over the function hn of x. So I can write this as limit n tending to infinity. Hn of x can be replaced by minimum of h of x, comma fn of x. Now I am going to take limit inside, since the first term is independent of n, so I can apply the limit for the second term. So I just write minimum of hx, comma second term I am going to apply limit. So limit n tending to infinity fn of x. Fine. Now since it is given that fn is measurable function, I am telling you once again, all these concepts will not be clearly mentioned in the notes. If you see the video, then only you can understand. Fine. So if fn converging to f, I can write limit n tending to infinity fn is equal to f as per the definition of convergence. So from the definition I can write this as minimum of h of x, comma f, or f of x. F is obviously function of x also here. Fine. So I can write this. Now let us write this value as h of x, that is minimum of h of x and f of x is, why? Because h is less than or equal to f here. H is one of the sub function of a function f. So h is less than or equal to f in the sense among h and f, h is the minimum value. Right? So minimum of h of x and f of x is h of x. That is why it is h of x. So I can write minimum of h of x and f of x as h of x. So LHS value is limit n tending to infinity hn of x. So what I have arrived is limit n tending to infinity hn of x can be written as h of x. Right? Now let us consider the bounded convergence theorem, as I already done the theorem in in the first session of this unit. So as per the bounded convergence theorem, so you just write the statement there. So what it says in the bounded convergence theorem, whenever you have integral over Lebesgue integral over e over f, so I can write limit n tending to infinity in Lebesgue integral over e over fn. So this is the statement of bounded convergence theorem is. Now I am going to apply the bounded convergence theorem for a function h. So I can write limit n tending to infinity integral over e hn will be equal to integral over e h. Right? So further this can be written as, see here I'll just take integral over inside, so I can write limit n tending to infinity hn. So I'm repeating once again, please, all these steps are not clearly explained in the notes. You cannot buy it and you cannot memorize it. Please go through the video once or twice, then you will get at least hint to memorize all these concepts. Fine. So I have taken bounded convergence theorem and I have taken limit inside, so I hope I obtained this. Fine. Now so meaning of the statement is, I can write integral over e h as limit n tending to infinity integral over e hn. Right? Obviously this value will be less than or equal to limit n tending to infinity integral over e fn. Why? Because h is less than f. right? So Hn will be, if you are going to generalize the same case, Hn is also less than or equal to Fn. If H is less than or equal to F, I can clearly say Hn is also less than or equal to Fn. Since what I have from the bounded convergence theorem, I have considered this. Now limit n tending to infinity Hn is less than or equal to Fn. So that is why I have written this as less than or equal to Fn. Clear? Now this step can be written as, I'll just continue here. So integral over E H can be written as, I'll just write this step once again. Limit n tending to infinity integral over E Hn is less than or equal to limit n tending to infinity integral over E Fn. Right? Now the meaning of this statement is, I can take, if you are going to take supremum over H, that is supremum of all the values of H over integral elementary integral of a function H. I am just taking supremum for LHS value as well as RHS value. So I can leave this. Why? Because this value is less than or equal to limit n tending to infinity Fn, right? If you want, I can write one more statement here. Integral over E H is less than or equal to limit n tending to infinity integral over E Fn, right? Now I have taken supremum on both sides. Let me take supremum on both sides. So you will get less than or equal to supremum of H less than or equal to F limit n tending to infinity integral over E Fn. Fine. Now this is the definition of limit supremum, right? So what it says, limit limit infimum. Definition of limit infimum is supremum of limit n tending to infinity is nothing but limit infimum. So I can write this both statement as limit infimum of n tending to infinity integral over E Fn. This is the definition of limit infimum. Now this, from the definition of non-negative measurable function, what it says, if f is less than or equal to h, integral over E, if you are going to take f, Lebesgue integral over E of a function f, it is that represented by it is h less than or equal to f, right? So where h is bounded function, I can write supremum of h less than or equal to f of integral h. That is what the, see here I have explained at the beginning of the session. This is the meaning of non-negative measurable function is, right? So you can look that this term is entirely written as integral over E f as per the definition of non-negative measurable function. So I can write this. Clear? And this is what the Feitas lemma is. See here. Statement. Clear? Hence the proof. See here, statement proof is very simple, but in between you have to write the statement and the steps you have to elaborate. So in the notes you cannot get all the steps perfectly. If you see the video, you can expand the steps. Fine? Hope so it is clear. So this theorem is very important. In the next session I will be doing one more important theorem called monotone convergence theorem. So you just practice these theorems. Thank you. Continue in the next session.